Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Irene and today I want to show you several spring decor ideas which I made using Dollar Tree items. So let's get started. My first makeover is of peat pots. I'm going to make Easter egg buckets out of them. To begin with, I'll paint the pots on the outside. I'm using cream here, you can use off-white or ivory as well. I'm painting the pots without touching the uneven upper edge. Then I'll need paper napkins with nice pictures on them and white glue. I'm wrapping the pot in a napkin so that the print fits the sides of the pot well, cutting off all the excess and tearing off the edges where the seam will be. I'm trying to make the seam less visible. So, in fact, I'm making kind of a bucket template. I'm separating the top thin layer of napkin with the print, placing it on the pot and covering it with white glue, doing decoupage. The napkins I use are of Michael Design Works brand. I'll leave the links to a small selection of nice printed napkins that I've found. Maybe you like some of them. You can also use vintage printables that suit spring decor well, like birds, flowers, etc. Print them on a laser printer and use for decoupage as well. I highly recommend you to have a look at my favorite website with vintage graphics. It's thegraphicsfairy.com. I'll leave the link for it in the description box. It has a huge collection of printable vintage images of all kinds, and the most of the printables there are free, which is great, and there are also great thematic collections for premium members at a really reasonable price. You can also use smaller pieces of napkin to cover the pots, or even attach individual motifs from the napkin onto the pot. Here I've picked up napkins with flowers, bees and the like. And another option is just painting the pots in pastel colors. To be honest, I'm not a big pro in decoupage and my napkins here have got wrinkled a lot when I've attached them. I'm trying to smooth all the folds with a wet finger to make the surface smoother, very carefully so as not to tear the napkin. It's better to attach a napkin using a transparent sheet protector, as I've shown when I made Christmas villages. But for some reason here I forgot about this method completely. At the end, I'm covering the pots with another layer of white glue or transparent varnish. I will add handles to the pots to make them look like tiny buckets. To do this, I'm cutting pieces of wire of the desired length. Mine are about 12 inches long. I have quite thick wire. And I'm using wine corks to finish the handles. Actually, I've been saving wine corks for a long time. I have quite a lot, but I still don't have any ideas of how to use them. And I'm piercing each cork with a thick needle and threading the wire through this hole. I'm bending the finished handles with corks on them in an arch and bending the tips so that the wire handle is standing on the bottom of the pot. and after that I'm hot gluing the wire handle to the bottom. Finally, I've decided to decorate the buckets with the ribbon bows. The ribbon I have was too bright and pink, so I'm aging it using the old and proven way by bathing it in instant coffee. After drying, I'm making bows and attaching them to the handle. All that is left is to fill the buckets. I'm using shredded paper here. Of course, you can replace it with any other filler like dry grass, sisal, raffia, bast. All of these will do. Such buckets are a great option for making small gifts for Easter. They are quick and cheap to make, and you can make a lot at once, and Easter eggs look very cute in such buckets. Here I'm using plain white eggs for showing off, but they will look even better with colored one. You can also put a small gift inside, and of course you can use these buckets as they are, just for decorating your home. For the next project, I'm using a bird figurine and a metal plate. Both are from my local Dollar Tree. The first thing I'll do is I'll attach the bird to the plate. I'm using cold welding here, but any strong glue will do here. I've decided to decorate the plate with cast elements. I'm using a bigger mold with leaves and making separate leaves for finishing the plate. Here I'm using the self-hardening clay Derby rock and I'm placing the leaves on the plate edge so that the tips of the leaves bend slightly. I've made 12 leaves and I'm trying to place them at equal distance. One leaf will be placed under the bird, so I'll use only the lower part of it and I'm cutting off the rest. I'm covering the finished leaves with white glue and pressing them tightly to the plate, and after that I'll let them dry well. For painting, I'll be using paint with baking soda to add some texture. I'm mixing a teaspoon of baking soda with a spoonful of water so that there are no lumps, and adding 2 spoons of acrylic black paint there, and after this I'm mixing everything thoroughly. You'll get quite thick paint, which is great for imitating stone or cast iron texture. I'm painting the plate both on the top and on the inside. By the way, keep in mind you'll need to use a lot of this paint. Due to its thickness, it turns out not to be economical at all. I've used almost all the mixed paint for this small plate. After the black has dried, I've decided to add a little rust to the cast iron. I'm mixing brown paint with white glue and baking soda in approximately equal parts. I'm also mixing some of the paint with black to get a darker shade. I'm applying the 2 resulting shades of brown randomly on the plate using a sponge to get an uneven color. By the way, if you make the whole plate brown, you'll get a bit softer effect. In the end, I'm sealing it with matte varnish. This plate actually looks just like real cast iron, and despite its rough and rusty texture, very romantic and vintage. And if you replace the black and brown colors with grey and beige shades, you'll be able to make faux stone texture as well. In addition to the plate, I've decided to repaint this 3-tier tray. I've bought it in Dollar Tree quite a while ago. It's plastic and very flimsy and is not good for serving any food, but it will fit perfectly for lighter arrangements. Also, this tray has an ornate leg and edges of the plates, so it's perfect for cast iron imitation. For the tray, I'm mixing one more portion of the black paint with baking soda. Thanks to adding soda, the paint adheres perfectly to the smooth plastic, and so I can do without a primer. The paint coverage is excellent. I've made only one layer and it was enough almost everywhere, but as I said, the paint consumption is big. 2 spoons of paint and a spoonful of soda for the tray wasn't enough and I had to mix more. By the way, you can see how flimsy this tray is. See, it's all shaking while I'm painting it, so I'm not even thinking of placing anything heavy here. After the black has dried, I'm mixing the brown and applying it randomly over the surface, making small strokes to get a speckled and even color, as if rust has appeared on the surface. After that, I'm sealing it with varnish and we're done. This was a very simple and quick makeover, but the tray looks so much nicer. It's a perfect base for seasonal arrangements. It's amazing how color and texture can change the look of an item. And you can actually repaint any plastic item into cast iron like this. And finally, I'm going to make Easter bunnies out of these garden figurines from Dollar Tree. I've bought one of these last year, the second one is from the latest collection and I've seen similar bunnies at Michael's. First, I'm painting both bunnies cream. Here I'm using homemade chalk paint. I have already shown the recipe, I'll leave the link to the video with it. Here it works great because if you use chalk paint, you don't have to prime. I let the paint dry well. In my inspo picture, bunnies have bows and baskets, and I'm gonna sculpt these from self-hardening clay. For the bow, I'm kneading clay into a flat ribbon and cutting off the edges with a ruler and a knife. I'm covering the bunny's neck with white glue and attaching the ribbon to the neck. Then I'm assembling the bow. First I'm placing a lamp in the center, this is the knot. Then 2 loops, I'm trimming them and making folds. And then I'm adding loose ends. I'm folding them in half from above, making a fold, and I'm also making the bottom edge a little curved. I'm making the bow for the second bunny just like this. First, a ribbon of clay. Then the knot, the 2 loops on the sides, and finally the loose ends. Here I've messed up a little. I've attached them fully to the bunny along the entire length, and when I've placed the figurine to stand upright, I've realized that in fact they should hang freely as per the law of gravity, but it was already impossible to peel them off. I've tried, but everything has stuck tightly, so I've left them as they are. I'm making the basket bases out of cardboard and toothpicks. I'm dividing the cardboard circles into 8 parts, piercing the edges and sticking the halves of toothpicks into them. Here I've made another mistake. You want to insert an odd number of sticks into the base, otherwise you won't be able to weave a basket correctly. Of course, I made this work, but don't be like me. I'm hot gluing the toothpicks on the inside, and then I'll start weaving the basket out of clay. First, I'm rolling the clay into a thin sausage, covering the bottom with white glue and spiraling the sausage on the bottom to cover the entire surface. Here you can also put a clay circle inside, it will not be visible in the end. And then I'm covering the bottom with clay on the other side. Then I've begun weaving, and here my torments begin. As it turned out, making a basket from a self-hardening clay and shooting the process at the same time is a real challenge. The clay sausages are so thin and they dry out and lose elasticity very quickly, and as a result they break easily when weaving. I've ruined a few sausages, but then I got the hang of working in small pieces and very quickly making sausages about 5 inches long and attaching them to the base immediately. In order for everything to stick together well, I've covered the basket with white glue. In the process, it dissolves self-hardening clay slightly and the surface gets very solid after drying. But I've regretted more than once that I've decided to sculpt clay baskets. If you don't want such a headache, use polymer clay or even rope or twine for making baskets. As for me, once I started, I finished it, but I do not advise repeating it. I'm attaching a twisted clay rope on the top of the baskets to hide the ends of the toothpicks. Also, I'm making a dozen eggs from self-hardening clay to fill the baskets later. And finally, I've made a basket handle for the upright standing bunny. I'm wrapping the clay around the wire and then I'm cutting it into 2 pieces so that later it will look like the bunny is holding the basket in its paws. After drying, I'm hot gluing both parts of the handle to the bunny and also hot gluing the basket into place. And I'm hot gluing the basket on the back of the second bunny. I've decided to repaint the bunnies. At first I wanted to do aging with glaze or duck wax, it's faster, but then I've changed my mind and so I'm repainting them in a darker color. Actually, the color turned out to be a little too dark, so I'm lightening it back a little, adding a cream shade right over the wet paint. This also makes the shade a little bit more complex. I let the bunnies dry well and then I'm dry brushing them with a cream color. I want quite a thick layer of paint so that the dark color is visible in the recesses only, so I'm making several layers of dry brushing until the bunnies become cream with slight darkening in the recesses, which is what I've wanted to get. Next, I'll do the makeup for the bunnies. I'm painting the inside of the ears, the nose and the cheeks soft pink. I'm also painting the bow of the sitting bunny pink. And I'm making the second bow pale blue. Now I'll paint the eyes dark brown. Of course, I could leave the eyes unpainted, but they were so obviously plastic looking that I preferred to repaint them. I'm drawing the pupils black and then making reflections with white paint. And additionally, I'm drawing polka dots on the bows using a round brush. Finally, I'm painting the baskets, making them dark brown, and then I'm dry brushing them with lighter shade to make them look more natural. I'm painting the eggs in different colors. I've chosen calm, muted shades to match the bunnies. Next, I'll assemble everything together. I'm attaching a bunch of sisal to the bottom of the baskets and placing the eggs on top so that the baskets look full. I'm placing the baskets on the bunny's back, and the last thing to do is to seal them. Here I'm using wax. I really like the soft satin finish it has. I think the bunnies look so cute and really have this vintage feel I wanted to achieve. I don't know if there are similar figurines in Dollar Tree at the moment, but I'm sure you can find similar figurines in other stores, or use garden gnomes that Dollar Tree has now, repaint them and add Easter baskets. They look just as cute.
So I hope you liked today's ideas. Please let me know what you think of them down below. Thanks for watching this video. Be safe and hope to see you in the next one. Bye!